If you are here at Citizen Jane that Stevens College puts on, these will be incredibly familiar faces to you. They are accomplished filmmakers, fantastic teachers, and wonderful people, and we're so happy to have them here talking about their newest project. You guys, again, are in for a real treat, so take it away.
Thanks, Liz.
So we're just about, good. Just about set to roll. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen here. We decided to not do a PowerPoint and plan this thing all out. We wanted to say a few things at first, and then we're going to actually ask some people to come up and play with the site, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to, you know this panel is about two people who are long-form documentarians, i.e. us, who are accustomed to making work that's 4 hours long, 2 hours long. A short for us is 40 minutes. Right? We're used to our films showing in movie theaters, right? Where the lights go down, the projector comes up, you just sit back and let it happen. And you know how long it's going to be. Or you're on TV, or it's on TV, it's on HBO, it's on PBS, where you at least hope that people don't exercise the remote control that they have. But maybe they're sitting with, as opposed to with a huge room full of people, maybe they're sitting with 2 or 3 friends. That's a different kind of experience, and the viewer has more control there, right? This is different. This is a situation where basically we realize we're making work for someone sitting in front of their computer. It is one person. They're used to having all the control in the world. They're used to at any moment, they're slightly bored, they have 25 other things they could do, right? That was our challenge. And so we're making this vast leap. So I did want to say that, and a great example of how crazy this is. It took us about an hour in this room to get this set up so it would work. That's another challenge. This medium, the internet, is very wonky, and it depends are you on Chrome, are you on Firefox, what room is it, how fast is your internet? All those things affect it. So these are some of the things we're going to talk about.
So quick questions. Who here has already made a sort of an interactive documentary type website?
Who's already done this?
Who's already made one? Who's interested in possibly making one? You're
okay.
heading in that direction.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Who here watches movies on their laptop or a tablet? Okay. Who here would like people to watch your movie on a laptop or a tablet?
You would
okay.
you would prefer that. You would actually prefer that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though you guys do it all the time, right?
Yeah.
If you're a maker, do you actually like that? Just curious.
Okay.
Does people know what HTML5 is?
Who knows how to use HTML5?
What is that? Who knows how to use it?
3
Oh,
people.
like 3 people. Okay, well, we're not going to call on you guys.
Who here has seen Welcome to Pine Point? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's helpful. Okay. This is the Wild West of where we're headed. 100 years ago, there was no such thing as the close-up, right, in cinema. Cinema was a young language. Well, we're where we are now with this sort of interactive world. The close-up has yet to be invented. In the last few years, there's been a bunch of people making work that we're going to show you some of today that are these bold adventures in terms of nonfiction storytelling on the web. But it's all like fumbling in the dark at this point, and we're fumblers as well, and we've just fumbled for the last year. Our site just launched 3 days ago, Reinvention Stories, and we're going to actually begin.
We're not quite ready, but almost there. We're going to actually show, we're going to make the site the basis of this, but I wanted to say a couple things that I wrote down here in terms of giving you some ideas of how we have understood this to be different. Us who have tried for a year now to make one of these babies, an interactive, nonfiction, narrative
experience.
Experience, okay. We can't even think of the right word. You've heard the word transmedia. You've heard the word multi-platform. What are some other catchwords for this stuff? We have not settled on a word yet. Okay, so how it's different? Okay, so in movies, we who make films think we have an audience. That's the word we use. Who's our audience? How are we trying to reach our audience? On TV, we more think of we have a viewer. But with the internet, don't we think it's a user? You don't think you have an audience. I mean, I don't think of myself as having an audience on the internet. I think of myself as having a user. Okay, that's one thing. Here's a little analogy I just love somebody said. Film festivals and movie theaters, this is a fashion analogy, okay, are the haute couture of viewer experience, right? film festivals, movie theaters. TV is like the pret-a-porter, right? The internet is like Kmart, Filene's basement. Somebody, a French guy made that up,
But
if
you think about it, so ever since human brains developed,
Right.
we have told stories. And ever since human brains developed, we have played games. When you tell a story, when you hear a story, you hope you're in good hands, and you surrender. You drift down the river. You float.
That's the idea, right?
Right, and you want to be in good hands.
Listen to the storyteller, right?
When you play a game, it's the opposite. You lean forward. You grab stuff. You're literally and
Bounce,
figuratively,
right?
you're grabbing stuff, right? How do these two different experiences work together?
Can they
How,
work together?
And can they, really? Yeah, can they? So that's the question.
And that's a challenge, right?
Yeah. So we want to begin with,
Okay.
we want to ask for a volunteer.
Hold it, we have to say a couple things here.
This is
Hold
very
it, I'm sorry.
interactive too, by the way.
Yeah, I know, we're always this way, everybody who knows us. Okay, just before we actually show the piece, I thought we ought to say, this piece was made over a 1-year span, that is to say, collecting the content, getting the money, collecting the content, editing it down, and creating a site. It was 1 year. Okay, then we worked with a team.
Yes.
This was not just me and Steve doing
Several
this.
of whom are here. Actually, we'd like to
Yeah.
introduce them if we could.
Actually, we had a big team of like 15 people.
Yeah.
So Liz was on the team.
Liz Cameron is a filmmaker from Dayton, Ohio, or from Cincinnati.
Megan.
She's here, producer. Megan
Megan
Haig,
Haig.
a producer from Ohio, as well.
Chase Whiteside did many things.
And was a
mostly
great
kicked
consultant.
our butts with like, you guys are so old school. How many times did you say that?
Yes.
Let's see. Just old, yeah, not old school. Anybody else here? So we had a big team, and some of the team were complete novices to doing media at all. Some were radio producers, because this was a multi-platform collaboration with a radio station. So one platform was radio. We'll talk about that more later. Some were experienced radio producers. Some were young filmmakers right out of film school, right? And some were just novices who were interested in getting involved. So we had to accommodate, right, all those kinds of people. It was strictly made in Dayton, Ohio, for Dayton, Ohio. Not that other people couldn't enjoy it.
It was funded real quick by the Association of Independents in Radio. This is a national organization for radio producers. It's called AIR, awesome group, and they made these grants that funded new adventures in new media, which we can tell you more about later if you want.
Okay, so what's this?
So we need a volunteer.
It shouldn't be up here now.
Well, it'll go away. I needed something on there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we need a volunteer who has not
One of us.
played with this site at all, doesn't know us, someone who can explore this site. We just want to observe you.
Right.
Everyone would observe you exploring this site, and we just want to see what you do. It's
Yeah. That's one of our challenges. What does somebody actually
You know, when you edit a documentary,
yeah.
you're trying to predict how people will respond to your storytelling, right?
When
When
might
you
they
do this
cry?
kind of thing,
When would
you're
they
trying
laugh,
to predict what people will, how people will behave. It's more than just emotional response while someone is sitting. It's actually trying to figure out how will people behave. What
when
will
they
their
sit in
hands
front
do?
of your site, right?
When you know what I mean? It's a more advanced level of trying to analyze what people will do or trying to figure that out.
We were trying to tell you some of the things we realized, you know.
Okay, so anyone
over the year
willing to
Yeah,
give it
come
a
on.
shot?
Okay.
Thanks. Come on
Come on
up.
up. Come on up.
Thank you.
Yay. So
I'm
now we
Steve.
should get
What's your name?
Maggie.
we should get
Hi,
the
Maggie.
spotlight off, I think.
Do you hear?
Yeah, so Maggie, a friend of yours, has sent you a link to this site, and you're like, what is it? And so if you, let's see, we'll put the thing up here, and if you hit enter, return, I think it'll, okay.
Okay, so let's get the lights off, please.
Where is
Wait,
Dayton, Ohio?
wait,
Dayton,
I'm sorry.
Ohio
We
is.
got two going at once.
Sorry.
Dayton was the
This is
Silicon
so
Valley of
typical.
the
Oh,
early 20th
geez,
century.
sorry, everyone.
This is exactly what always
Okay.
happens, right?
Okay, wait, Maggie. Yeah, this is a disaster. Okay, so
This is a mashup of several sites. Let's go back.
okay, let's try it again.
All of the issues related to the very
No.
vibrant
Oh,
Dayton,
that's not it.
state.
No, no, no.
Stop. I had
But
all
see,
these.
you might get this,
I had
right?
all these loaded, and then that was my fatal flaw. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm sorry, one more time.
Go back.
So Maggie, friend sends you this link, and it's like, yeah, and you type it in, and there it goes.
Okay.
Where is Dayton, Ohio?
Dayton, Ohio is
200 miles south of Detroit, Michigan.
Dayton was the Silicon Valley of the early 20th century.
Big industrial town. It was a big inventive town.
Don't we have to talk about the Wright brothers?
Dayton was a working man's town.
A blue-collar town.
If you wanted to go to work, you brought your tools to Dayton.
You had Delco,
Frigidaire,
Inland, NCR with the cash register.
Dayton at one time was second to Detroit and tool and die making.
Hubbub of activity.
Dayton used to be a very booming city.
Then they lost all the beautiful stores downtown.
A city in decline.
All the GM stuff leaving.
I think there's still a lot of struggles.
The rust bucket industries aren't coming back.
I don't think any big corporate savior is going to come in and save Dayton.
I think it was one of the national magazines.
According to Forbes magazine,
it's a dying city. Fastest dying city in the nation.
I think Dayton sucks right now.
Yeah, our town was hard hit. A lot of people were starting over. But how are they doing it? How are people from Dayton dealing with these new times? This project is going to try to answer that question. A team of us spent the summer walking around Dayton. We were looking for stories. We found a lot. We took 7 of those stories and made them into a movie. That's coming up. Some of our questions are in here too, that we hope you'll answer.
Hey, we're doing a radio project. We're working with WYSO.
The project is called Stories of Reinvention. This will need your story too.
Oh yeah.
But it's up to you. So she didn't click off.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And it wasn't just because I'm in a fishbowl, which is weird. Normally I'd be on my couch with my
Right. Did you stop it or did it stop?
It stopped.
Oh, okay. So what would you do?
So now I'm going to just mouse around to see what happens.
Good.
It looks like a menu comes up down here.
Yeah, it does.
It kind of gives me time to think about, like, okay, what's going on here? So I'm in Act 1, LaToya. This must be LaToya's story. Oh, and I see, so these are the stories. Okay, well, rather than switch and wait for something else to load, I'm going to see what's going on with LaToya.
When the stuff happened with GM, we was making brake parts for GM and Chrysler. We had a big meeting and they told us some of us would be laid off, but eventually it was everybody. I thought I was going to retire from there, so it was devastating. I'm LaToya Coleman and I live in Residence Park. Me and my fiance, we have 6 kids all together. We did odd jobs, and then the older kids, they got jobs and helped out. We cleaned office buildings, houses, did yards. We did everything, you hear me? Everything. And we just stayed strong and stuck together. Our problem is with food. We went and bought something to make spaghetti. That was about $40, about $42. To make a pot of spaghetti to last, because I cook stuff that lasts more than one day. Food, it's high now. It's expensive, you know. We make sure the kids eat before we do. That's all that matters, as long as they fed and well-groomed and everything, they be all right. What gets me through is prayer. Do you need a card? There you go. I mean, we have our moments, you know, when stuff don't go right. We was renting our house in Westwood and kind of found out our landlord took all the equity out of all his houses and jumped ship. And we had to find somewhere to live. It was in November. We was dealing with that situation.
Oh, so I was about to switch.
When I was a
for
baby,
me.
Right.
I wanted to do construction. So my uncle, one of his clients is a home builder, and he says, Jim, I got this nephew of mine.
So,
He's kind
Maggie,
of wayward,
even if you
so
might want to
give this
keep
kid a
watching,
job for
can
the
we ask you
summer."
to just play,
The
just for the sake of
guys
time,
there,
play
they would
around a
get
little
paid
bit?
on Friday.
Yeah.
By
Why don't you stop
Monday,
for
they
just a
broke.
sec, because I want to ask you a
They
question.
were just giving off.
What you said just then, I was about to switch off. Why? Why at that moment? Just curious.
Well, I was thinking about that. I probably would switch sooner if I wasn't being
Right,
concerned.
yeah. Okay.
That's good,
Yeah, I guess I was more like, okay, I got it. She's on hard times. It was kind of interesting I liked the part about like what they were doing, you know, like we've done all these different things. Although it would have been neat to see some of that stuff, to get like more of a feel for it. But I was thinking, and then I was like, well, I was thinking reinvention, and I was envisioning like new life, and this felt more like, dead end sounds really horrible.
Yeah, no.
No, it's okay.
You know.
It didn't
So you thought
feel like a reinvention, so I was like, wait, there's either it's taking too long to get to the reinvention, or it's not going to happen. So I'm going to go see what else is out
So you,
there.
you felt like done with that story. You got it. So let's move on. And you would have
Yeah.
gone like to the next story, or just picked a name you liked, or something like that.
I don't know. I was like, I almost want like an overview. The thing that was up there, I'm tainted by what was up there when I
Right.
came in.
Oh, yeah.
Is that related?
Yeah, we shouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, we shouldn't have seen that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, but you did
part
see
of
it.
me wants like a menu.
Okay, see, there you go. You want like a menu or a home page, or you want to
homepage.
know like, what are you
But it's
wondering?
funny
Yeah.
because when I first came in and I saw that, I was like, ugh.
Right.
Because I hate when you want me to totally navigate. I'm like, no way, you know the story. Tell me where to go a little bit and what to do, but then give me some choices within it. So when I
Right.
get sick of something, I can navigate within your advice.
Great. Well, do you feel like that bottom nav bar helps?
It helps, but I'm like, yeah, well, it's kind of a risk because I could click on any of these people. I don't know anything about them.
Right. Okay.
And so I'm like, it's a gamble.
Okay. So you might say, I don't want to. I get this.
Preface
Right.
this, but I'm not a big video watcher.
Okay.
But if it auto starts like it did, unless it's a horrible auto start, I will get sucked into video, but I'm reluctant to start a video if I have to start it myself because I'm just.
Well, let me ask you one
that
more thing.
was the choice we had to.
Because I want to ask other people what they might do. But did you notice there was a top bar?
No. Oh, this thing. No. I would have liked that. That would have made me feel better.
Okay.
So what do you when you see that? What does that make you think? Okay.
So I'm like, okay, watch the movie, drive the road, speak your mind. Cool. I would have liked that.
And
I
then
probably
what-
would have seen what's this. Signs of life.
Well, what signs of life do you see in the city?
Let's see what happens.
Oh, they're around in here. Or maybe not.
When you see those, what do you think?
Well, I can click on them. And I
Right.
guess that voice was with the thing. So this is a sign of life, all right?
This is the inaugural event called the Dayton World Soccer Games. Our intent is to bring the immigrant and refugee
Oh, are these
population of the city of Dayton to the forefront.
No, they're not user-made. Now I want to go away.
Are
Okay.
these user-made? That's a good
User-made. That's a
question.
good question.
But I want to see a different one.
Okay. So you turned that one off. Okay. Soccer game, whatever. You don't care about soccer.
No, it shouldn't be going that slow.
So it's maybe it's
Can you
hovering.
scratch a little
Would you
vertical?
tend to, yeah,
there
you
you
go.
Okay, so now I got motorcycle.
I hit that.
Are you noticing that there's a time, that you're given the time?
I see the time bar down below.
Did you tend to notice that?
Yeah, I do, because I'm like, how much more of this do I have? Is it going to do something? Is someone going to tell me what's going on?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm being.
Yeah,
really,
no,
like,
this is
That's good. That's
incredibly
good.
helpful. This is incredibly great.
Feelings or anything.
No, and we don't want you to be
And we
brutally
hope you guys
honest.
are thinking, what would you do? Because we want to ask, this is a whole interesting thing, is how do people behave in front of this, right?
So.
Yeah. And thank you for doing this, Maggie.
You're welcome. So it's funny because it's kind of like, it's very much, it's not narrated except for that first one. It's more like if I were walking around and observing things, this would literally be the signs that I would see.
Right.
So.
Good. That's good thinking.
But I'm used to things being more concentrated.
Like shorter, you mean?
Yeah.
Like you would immediately jump in and see people jumping around as opposed to people setting up mic stands, for instance, right?
Well, no, more that like, okay, I can see this stuff and I can listen to someone talk to me at the same time. So somebody would be giving me their interpretation of why
I see.
This is a sign. Is this a new event that's happened? Did it bring in money? Like, I mean, I can draw my own conclusions, but I don't know anything about Dayton other than what you've told me.
Right.
So I don't know, like, maybe this has historical significance. Maybe Dayton used to be really rocking, and then it wasn't, and now they're trying to make it again. You know, it could be a lot of things that I don't know. So. Good.
Okay.
It's good they're fairly short. But yeah, I mean, part of me is like, I could have had. I could have gathered, all right, we got music, soccer, bikes, with some still photos in here. And then I would have kind of known, well, there is a still photo. Oh, next stop. No? Oh, okay, I see. This is the first one.
It comes up again, yeah.
It's a sign that people care. When you see boarded up buildings and you hear the crime reports on TV, you just start to feel depressed.
I like this, that she's talking to me and telling me what it means.
It's a transformation that I think is far better than some new Kroger or Walmart or whatever.
It's weird, you can't pause it.
You can't pause
Do you see the close button?
I see the close, but what if I wanted to just stop for a second and talk to you?
Okay, see what happens.
That's good. That's good to know.
You mean
I'm very impressed.
If I close it and then restart it, will it start in the same?
No, it starts over. Yeah. But that's a good note. The pause button on the phone, guys.
So I liked that one because if I'm here, I presumably want to learn about Dayton and these people, but if you just show me stuff and I make my own interpretations, I'm not really learning about Dayton. I'm like imposing myself onto what I see in Dayton, which I could do by driving around.
What signs of life do you see in the city?
But what I want to do is hear what the people from Dayton see.
Right.
And think.
Okay.
I want to see it through their eyes. So
And
I
for
like the narration.
For this, for the sake of time, could you, like, maybe click next stop, or
Oh, okay.
let's
So
see what
that's
happens.
something else.
Just so we can keep.
Where do you see signs of life? So I don't know. I'll just click creating murals. Oh, okay. These are people's comments. Maybe 3 days ago. Yeah, Marion's Pizza. Celtic Festival and a World Affair. And I can start typing something here.
Sorry.
Whoa. Okay.
I don't know. I'll just see what's. Oh, what city event do you most look forward to each year? Oh, okay, I see. So there's these questions here, and then these are people's answers. And I can like search for questions, I guess. And I can just click through them. What is your favorite place? That's kind of cool. I think that was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Now, your answer is supposed to pop up there, but I can see it didn't.
Oh.
And it doesn't say it, but that goes into a Twitter feed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, Maggie, we're going to ask you to stop, and thank you so much for playing it with this. It's just hugely helpful.
And also, we want to say, yeah. Okay. So, do you want to have somebody else do it, or do you want to talk about it?
No, I think we should talk. So, in the...
Let's see what questions, well, what would you guys have wanted to do?
Yeah.
Can we get some room lights on now? Thank you. Yeah.
So, when you're driving, first of all, I wanted to finish the story of LaToya.
Okay.
I wasn't ready to leave. I like starts. I want to be able to start something and end it before I move on, unless I'm bored. And then when you're going down the street, it would be nice to be able to click on a location of interest. Like I was really curious by the Food for Less store. I wanted to click on that and go inside, and then find the stories. Yeah. That's just me.
And when you make your own site, you could do that.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. And I agree with her observation about wanting to pause.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
What else? What would you guys have wanted to do as you were watching? Yeah. We'll get to you next. Okay.
I think I really wanted to know just who the audience of the site was for, because these questions, what are your favorite events in Dayton? I've never been there, so I wouldn't know. So I think I would have clicked away at this point, like, oh, site's not for me.
Right.
Versus before, when I thought, oh, I'm learning about Dayton. I didn't know about this history. Like, I want to see how this city is being revived. So, yeah, I think I would immediately go to the about. Like, what are they trying to do?
Okay, well, let's do that. You want to do that? Or, well, Steve will do it, I guess. Okay.
I think the about is where I go first in sites.
Actually, would you come up and just do that? See what.
Yeah.
And I'm Steve. What's your name?
Oh, Alexandria.
Alexandria.
So you see the about starts with that whole list up there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool that it comes back to all of them.
Now, how foregrounded this whole about thing should be, that's a debate that we've had forever. Like, do you really make people go through this first, or do you make it more like, hey, swim around, just explore?
It's funny because when I clicked on about, I think this is the main reason of what I wanted to know.
Why we made it?
Yeah, I think that, like, up in the forefront, like, centered in almost like a mission statement kind of way, I think would have been really helpful. Just as impatience goes on websites, I think. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I really wanted to know.
So,
yeah.
I think that's really important because about to me means maybe more the little technical kinds of things, whereas why we made it is important, or how to navigate or whatever.
Right.
Because for those of us with a short attention span, those are those great little milestones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were going to say, yeah.
I was just going to say, to kind of be the kind of dull guy here. Right from the start, I would have skipped intro, even though it's a great intro, and all those different voices are great, to sit here and listen to that. But at my desk at work, clicking on this, I would have clicked right through that. I would have been all over that page real quick and probably moved on to something, but I wouldn't have been fully engaged in what was going on.
Yeah. We still have wise friends telling us that intro is 2 times longer than it should be. And we've cut it down and down and down. And without really changing it, that's as short as we could get it so far. But
regardless of your intro, I would have skipped it, though. I would have missed it. It would have been my fault. That's a great intro. That's on me.
A lot of people like to race through and see what's out there, see everything. Okay, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got that, and then go and begin
and decide if they want to go back or not.
You want to get a handle on the whole thing before you really start watching anything. Yeah.
So just glancing at the why we made it, what I see is that there's a lot of sort of nebulous words like us, we, you, who is us, who is we, who's you. And I think that helps me understand why I'm there. So when I first go, I know you are a citizen of Dayton, we need your help. You are an American, you are a funder. I mean, who am I to you? And I think that really helps. And I get that sort of like we want to include everyone, but I think at the same time you can exclude everyone if you're not clear about who everyone is. And I'd like to see like faces, you know, some of these, you know, people here that maybe were involved, like who
oh yeah,
made
they're there.
this?
Yeah.
But I want to see that
the
first,
team.
You know, maybe like, yeah, okay, so maybe I would have clicked on that, but like maybe have that in the about section. So I don't have
It
to
is in the about section, right?
Okay.
It's hard to know exactly how
that
But
little paragraph
that doesn't
that
matter
we were
that we
reading.
say that. Right?
Yeah.
So I haven't looked through it, so I didn't see everything. But that little section I think is really important, and that's what I would go to first. And if I don't understand who you are right away,
right,
I don't understand who I am to you. So
okay.
Yeah.
Is it important that each of those personal stories be in a timeline? Do they tie in together? Sometimes the content of the like if a piece is laid out cool, then you're like, oh, then we suck people in, and then maybe they'll watch them all. But I personally, if they're separate stories, I would much rather see them in a very simple, even like crappily designed kind of just boxes would be easier for me, because then I can say this is one film, instead of there's a bunch of names. Are these tied together? Are they not? I guess I have to watch it for however long.
And a lot of people think you can click. You should be able to click on those things there.
So I guess the main question, was, is there a reason that they're sequential?
Yes, yeah,
definitely.
Okay, there is.
As in a documentary, there certainly is. We crafted it. We tried to craft it as a movie experience. The humbling, perpetually humbling thing about this is realizing that it doesn't matter what we can craft. It matters that if you don't have the ability to click around, you will leave even sooner than you might leave anyway. You know what I mean? It's like if this was all just one movie, a 15-minute movie, you're gone, right? You're not going to stick around.
I don't agree with that, actually.
Well, bless you. And you're you're like us. You love a good, but
no, I don't. That's not why. I think people actually do watch longer films, but I mean, I think they can.
Yeah.
But there's different ways also to get them to do that, and I'm curious about your process of deciding that putting names was the way to do that.
Yeah, this was one of the big discussions. It's sort of how much do you craft a narrative and expect people to sit down for 15, 20 minutes and watch it? And how much do you do that, but also allow for the people who don't have 15 or 20 minutes and want to jump around? How do you allow for that to happen? We debated these kind of things and designed them in for months. And what we came up with our designers was this bottom nav bar. That's pretty obvious. You know, you see Act 1, there it is along the bottom. You can click on each story. You see that they're in a sequence, right? I mean, presumably you would assume that we put it in this sequence for a reason. And you can click around or you can just watch the whole thing. So that was something we tried to provide for. At the top, you want to do the top again? Sure. This comes down at one point to sort of show you that it's there, and then it goes back up again.
But like, I don't know if it came down, Maggie. It did not come down when the intro ended. This is supposed to come down. It did. I don't think it did.
I think it did, but maybe it comes down too quickly. But under Act 1, we used to have the idea, just to talk about your point, because these are the kind of design things we went over and over with our designers. We used to have it so that you click on Act 1, right, and all the faces of everybody like kind of pop down. And so you could click on any one of them that way. So we used to have that plus the bottom nav bar, but we decided in the end that that's kind of duplicate, and that the top didn't have the times and wasn't like a typical nav bar with, you know, where you see the progress. So we decided to scrap the people popping down.
Can I ask one more question just about, I'm actually much more interested in the content of the films than I mean, the design is interesting, and of course that's part of the experience as a user and such, but the stories you chose, why lead with the ones you did, and what made you decide to do them as the way you did them, I guess, with individuals and faces?
The team of us, the team of like 15 people, we gathered about 70 interviews with people around Dayton who had started over, and there's a concurrent radio series going on that is going to feature about 20 of these stories. And each of those 20 radio stories will have a little mini movie that lives on a different site and eventually lives on this site. But then we were, in our desire to craft something interactive and different, we said, look, what are stories that would lend themselves to this? These 7, and it was 6 at one point, it was 5 at one point, it was 9 at one point, but we settled on these 7, and we sequenced them, much as you would a mixtape or a short story collection, for a certain emotional build and release and build and impact. And without giving it away, I mean, there is a, and you can see, we also decided at one point, well, they can't be 9 minutes each. At least we felt, so all these stories are under 3 minutes, mercilessly edited. I mean, that's not our style at all. But thanks to our very brutally honest friends in Ohio, many of whom are here, we cut and cut and cut, and got them down, but then we said, look, it's going to be 3 acts. We'll try to leave each act in a cliffhanger, unresolved. I mean, Maggie, to your point that you like, LaToya's story isn't finished, but that is by design. But if it's not evident that it's by design, you're like, well, that was really a bad story.
It is so weird. Because
then you're not going to, if you don't realize, oh, this is part 1 of 3.
It's act 1, and it says that, and somehow nobody notices that.
Yeah.
Like in all the tests we've done.
I think that, like, too much was happening too fast.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, wait, what happened to the act 1, 2, 3 that I
Right.
saw on when I first came in?
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see the act 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and eventually you see those act 2 and 3 are up there. They'll be live in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we decided to roll them out 3 weeks apart.
Yeah, in part because they're not done. But
Well, that is absolutely
Not
part
that
of
we're
it.
supposed to
Yeah.
say that. Yeah.
But at some point they'll all be live at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that what would solve that problem is a grid where it's when the thing at the top when it comes down and you see the faces, or the bar along the bottom where you see their names. If it's a grid where it's act 1, 2, and 3, picture, picture, picture for LaToya, going down, and then the characters going across, so that you have a sort of visual table, so that if you want to follow LaToya's story, you just go through hers.
Our plan
we
is to have
definitely thought
photos
about that,
hover above the names here. That is not yet done.
That's
but
not accomplished, but
yeah.
their pictures will hover above.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we want to zoom out for a little bit and tell you sort of show you some other sites and talk to you more about this sort of emerging art form.
Yeah, we wanted to get you to engage with this one, but this is just
and
one.
we're doing this in full honesty that this is our first time. Obviously, there's many stumbles. We're still learning. This is still changing. Unlike a movie that premieres at a film festival, these things are evolving constantly, right? So, yeah, one more question.
I want to ask a question about your interview process. Did you have the same set of questions?
Yes.
That you asked each person?
We did. That's a really good question. And speaking to our process, we actually, and these guys could throw in because they did it, we chose 4 neighborhoods of Dayton after scouting for a month or more to get an interesting diversity. You saw the map of the city where we'd kind of have neighborhoods in different parts of the city, neighborhoods that were a little more lively, neighborhoods that were crime-ridden, And we literally walked the streets. You saw Steve and I in that little shot walking with a little backpack, and the backpack had in it a DSLR camera and a Zoom tape recorder, and some flyers, which you saw we gave the lady a flyer, that woman a flyer. She ended up becoming one of the main characters. And we walked the streets, and we met people as they were unloading their groceries, walking their dog, in the park with their kids, sitting on their porch. That's how we met people.
Do you have the questions that you asked on the
It was,
site?
well, each act begins with the question, who was I? Is the act 1. Like before, and then what happened? Like my boss came in and told me I was fired, or I read in the paper that our plant was going to close, or whatever. So what happened specifically, and then who am I trying to be now, or who am I now, or where am I going now? So those are the questions, yeah.
My other question had to do with impact, and I think I saw where you had like an action step, for people who wanted to take more of a social activist kind of role.
Right.
Do you have an evaluation tool on this to show that your project is indeed making an impact?
We have Google Analytics, but that tells you just how many people have visited the site. We have the tweets. Eventually, we're going to have some public events in town that will hopefully connect to the site. But we're still working on all that.
Just on that, though, because the social action aspect of this is actually, it may not be obvious on Act 1, is a very big part of this, actually, because Dayton, we discovered over the year, is reinventing. The city, people, there is a sense of new energy. You know, we had a horrible crash. Everybody was really depressed. People, we lost a lot of population. We lost all of our big companies about 4 years ago. So that was a real question. Are we going to survive as a city? What's going to happen? What kind of city are we going to be? So there's a lot of efforts out there, and this site can join those efforts. So the questions change at the end of each act and become like sort of deeper and more action-oriented. So by the time you get to the third act, it's specifically asking you and modeling in those little bubbles that come down the road. It's a different road each time. It's different questions each time. Who is taking action? What can you do? The question is then, what can you do? What can you contribute to your neighborhood, to your block, to the city? So, and those all go into a Twitter feed. And we actually will take this site to various organizations and get people to engage with it. So it's really aimed at Dayton, Ohio. That's the main place it's to be used, right? And hopefully it will join various efforts to make our city, remake our city.
Okay, so we want to shift gears and kind of race through some sites that we referenced, that we discovered, and just inspiring sites that are out there.
I think we gave you a piece of paper.
And they're all on this list. And we kind of maybe presumptuously have broken these into more traditional doc sites and more experimental doc sites. More traditional ones might include something like this, which are little movies.
Maybe we should get some lights down so we can see them better.
Yeah, so this is a site called Our Dreams Are Different. It's little documentary stories from, this is actually also from Ohio, from Southwest Ohio. And they are a mix of interview, cinema verite, still photos.
Could we play one? How about we play this one? Yeah.
Unhealthy
Oh no, we're playing our side again. What's that?
Along with various other stereotypes.
The level of mentorship in our community is not as strong as it possibly could be.
When I came up, crack was a quick way for a black man.
Huh.
Yeah, I should have loaded the Google searches and then clicked on them.
It's amazing what kids can do to you just by the look of their face. But every time that I see her, I'm a mother, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta get on it. I could never give up. I wouldn't ever give up. First time that I met or found out what his name was and everything, and he just came over to my house, drunker than a skunk, and fell off of his bike and asked me to date him, and that's how we started getting together, and then said that he wanted to spend all of his time with me. And I thought it was the sweetest thing ever, so we just stayed together, and then a couple months later I found out I was pregnant.
A mix of stills, interview, moving video, beautifully crafted. A lot of this is, and
you can keep the lights down. Actually,
yeah, we're going to bounce around a lot.
This is a girl who, as you watch it, and it's a short piece, 5 minutes or so, and it's a portrait of a girl who is a 15-year-old single mom.
Yeah.
You find out.
Media Storm.
Life, yeah.
You might have, anyone heard of Media Storm? They're a site that also does these kind of online short portraits, short docs that live on the internet. There's a maker named Maisie Crow who is doing some beautiful work. Let me turn off this one.
You remember something every day.
Sorry, let me just.
Just memories. You remember something every day. It's memories. And if you don't have memories, you don't have anything. Because life is but a memory. We met at the Athens County Fair. I believe it was 1940. I had seen her pass on the street where we were working, and I knew nothing about her. but I liked what I saw in a nice way. We was married in a little church around the corner on Fifth Avenue in New York City, and we were happily married for 63 years. When I bought the farm in '69,
have black borders,
while we
and the video is a
remodeled
little
it
wider?
piece by piece, room by room, and then we lived here the rest of our time in married life until she passed away. But death is so final. It's like turning off a light switch. Your mind is going a mile a minute, hoping but that's where reality sets in again, and she's gone. Well, she was a very petite, loving little woman.
Okay, whoops.
Very forgiving.
Okay, that's good.
More so than I.
This is something we debated. We have a lot of stills in our project, and should we have those black borders? Does that signify this is a still photo? This has integrity as a composition that was taken out in the world in real life. But really, you could create those bars, and you could fake it, right? You could have a video shot that you make look like a still, and you can have stills stretched widescreen. But is there an aesthetic impact of seeing something with the black bars? Does it say moment captured? I don't know, but this is something we've been talking about a lot. And of course, everyone's browser window can be different sizes, so that's another impact.
Do you want to show Pine Point?
So those are more traditional, but now we're going to go into some more experimental stuff. And the site that really kind of blew us away.
Actually, the reason that we decided we wanted to try this is because we saw this site about a year ago right now. And the leaders around the world in this kind of work are the National Film Board of Canada.
Yes.
There's no question about it. The government actually funds artists to do this kind of stuff.
Canada
artists, political people, it's amazing. Most all the great sites that I've seen are all from Canada.
They're kicking our ass.
You're
Canada's
laughing,
kicking
right?
our ass.
Because that's the way it is, right?
Canadian?
Okay, so welcome to Pine Point. Really just blew us away completely and made us think, yeah, we could try this. And this is an amazing site made by these two guys called the Goggles.
Mouse click. Tab 579. Click. Mouse click. Backspace 10.
So you can keep reading or you can advance, right?
Yeah, Paul and Mike in Vancouver. They offer you endless possibilities to play, like the box of chocolates is amazing, but you have no ability to add anything to it. It's totally done, like a movie would be done. It doesn't change. But there's so much, they're so clever what they've put in here. Do you want to show the table of contents?
Sure.
And how they did that.
All right, so we're just in the early stage of this.
You eventually discovered this, which is so
we're
cool.
still in the intro. This is like a really rich art book in a way, online art book. Let's go to we'll jump to Pine Pointers.
70. Many.
Cougar.
My parents ended up working at
My name is Kimberly Fedorov. I lived in Pine Point from 75 to 84. Naming a band's a tough thing to do.
So this site actually has characters.
And I wanted
it has 3 main characters whose lives you do follow.
This is the best music video ever made. Love the drummer.
Kim Castle was...
My name's Lyle Rennick.
So that's another character.
So that was then, here's now. Here's Kim now.
This is Kim's video.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're not going to... This, you could spend an hour on this site. We're going to move on, but there's so much to this site. It just keeps going and going and going.
And it actually has a beginning, middle, and end. If you stick with it, it has an all-over narrative. It brings you to a conclusion. It leaves you with some very amazing things to think about. So it has some of the elements of a movie. It has characters, character development, a beginning, middle, and end. But it also has interactivity. You can play around with it. You can stay on a page, right? You can see a lot of different photographs. You can see a lot of different patches that used to be on people's hats back then. So to us as filmmakers, we thought, wow, all the things you could never fit in your film, we could put in our website. If we did a website, right? It would be you could really expand on what you can do in a documentary movie.
All right, so we're going to show you another NFB site. Okay, so we're going to move on.
One more, yeah.
This one's called High Rise. Has anyone seen this? High Rise is
You saw that? Yeah. Canadian also.
Yeah.
Right. Global, but Canadian.
High Rise is a very massive project that includes all kinds of sub-projects. We're going to show you one of those sort of sub-projects called Out My Window.
So, and go to the map at the top. So you have that. You can see where it's global. It looks like high rises globally and life in high rises. And those are some of the characters. And they use this amazing form of photography, which is 360 photography. And as you go around, different things become interactive. And you can, use.
So I'm using my arrows. I'm using the
Go to
arrows.
the letter. For instance, the letter on her couch there, as well as the bureau behind her couch. Okay.
Oğlumu her an hatırlıyorum. Onu çok seviyorum, çok özlüyorum. Onun bende birkaç tane bir mektubu vardır. Zaman zaman açar okurum. Almanya'da şu anda kendisi. 10 yaşında ondan ayrı kaldım. Almanya'da yaşayan kardeşlerim aklıma geliyor, kız kardeşlerim.
This woman is in Istanbul, Turkey, right?
7 kardeşiz. Alt 5'i de orada. Ve havadaki geçen uçaklar beni çok etkiliyor. Onları hep tanımayayım içindeki yolcular hep el sallamak geliyor. Ne zaman görsem balkona çıkıp pencereden bakınca. Sonra uçağın bende bıraktığı etki, annemin babamın çok gençken Almanya'ya gitmesi ve sonradan onların çok genç demeyeyim de
So you can look at her
every
whole,
time something pops, it has a story. Like it pops forward, has a halo around it. That means it has a story.
you can look at her whole apartment this way. And the sound changes, right? It's pretty, it's actually quite amazing.
Yeah. So they did this in all these different cities. Yeah, this is highly fun, interactive piece.
Yeah.
A couple of quick other sites. Mapping Main Street. United States has over 10,000 main streets.
This is a U.S. one.
Anyone on any main street can take pictures and tell stories about a main street anywhere and upload it to this site. It's not curated. It's not pre-censored. You know what I mean? It's like they don't have a filter on it.
You going to show a little bit of that? This was made by a group now called Ziga, who were our partners in programming and planning this thing out. They're a group of young programmers from Cambridge. And when they made this site, unlike the folks in Canada who I'm sure got paid for their work, they were living in their car because they had no funding. As they traveled around the country beginning to set up the idea of photographing and documenting main streets.
Ziga is a group of young people, but it's also a software that's going to use HTML5. They're really developing something amazing that's in beta right now that will be like the Final Cut Pro of building websites, where something like almost anyone can learn, and you can grab from any existing site. You can grab from Flickr pages, YouTube videos, Vimeos, SoundClouds, and create something, some kind of interface like this, or other sites.
So they want to create open source software that for regular folks to create their own stories.
Yeah.
And that's who we worked with to make our site. Or we are working with. It's still happening, yeah.
The whale hunt is, this is wild. So you this is all about one whale hunt somewhere. So you scroll around, you're like, okay, let's go here. And you can sort of experience this whale hunt through this slideshow or...
You ought to go to the whale part.
The whale, where's the whale? Yeah.
So where is that whale? No,
so cast.
Okay.
You get the idea. So Bear 71, another NFB one. They tracked a bear, a polar bear, throughout Canada through surveillance cameras. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. We'll move on.
Yeah, we're running toward the end here. We got to. Yeah.
I'm getting the look.
You have the sites. I mean, if you're interested in this kind of thing,
you see that?
These are some of the really best ones.
That begins with this is a 20-minute online documentary. We debated, do we say that, something like that? We were so opposed to that. It's like, the words I dreaded having on our site is, this site is intended to, or something. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay.
It was really, you know how in movies, you love movies that like, documentaries especially, that sort of throw you in, or we do anyway, that sort of throw you in, that don't take you by the hand, where there's not a narrator who explains, okay, this is the kind of movie this is, and here's the main character, that just throws you in and lets you swim. So we love that. So we didn't want to have a site that had a home page, that had a, here's what it is right away, that kind of had a narrator that led you through. We wanted you to we hope that people would find a kind of more mysterious site interesting and would click around and discover things. That's what we hoped. Okay,
we will say one thing about our site. Our site will eventually end in a map, and all the stories that you saw will be dots on the map. You can go to them and hover and see them, and all the 20 other people we interviewed and all the 30 other events we covered in our town will be dots on the map. And then there'll be a box that says share your story. And you can then type in text, answer questions, upload photos, and then you will become a dot on the map.
People can add their own story by the time we hit Act 3.
That's our sort of our design, our thought for sustainability, for letting it grow organically. And we'll keep making little movies too and add them to the map too.
And then we have a history.
And there's a history, there's archival photos kind of thing from town too. That'll hopefully be fun.
So we have it. You want to get the funder credit up there?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, these are some of the things we've struggled with, is the tension between narrative, lead people through a story and offer them a box of chocolates to do with as they want, right? And it's not easy. Another little thing I'll mention that's not easy is just the fact that you have so little control over the actual look of what you're creating. Again, it's not like in a trusted movie theater where you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to look good and the sound's going to be good. Even on TV, you have a fairly good idea. With the internet, man, I mean, those images you saw of ours are like beautiful HD images. They looked horrible. But it's just like the speed of the internet here. Yeah. It stops at one point. Well, that can happen. So you have to kind of be ready for that. I think people are, for us, there was a question of, do we try to push the form or do we present something that people are used to seeing so it's easy for them? Right? And the more we showed our site to people, the more they wanted it to be easy. The more they wanted it to be this. I don't expect it to be like this. But we wanted to push the form. We wanted to make it a little bit so you had to explore. And it wasn't what you expect. We felt like our job was partly to push the form, right? To push the form. I don't know if as you look at it, you'll find that successful, but that was part of our sense of mission, right? Is to do something that was not expected. So there is no homepage. It just starts.
Yeah.
You don't, yeah. Okay.
We did want to mention shooting if you're doing documentary gathering for this kind of project, there are certain types of shots that you might not get if you're making a traditional doc.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention four of them that we wish we would have gotten more of last summer when we were in heavy duty production. One is very, very simple. Set your tripod down somewhere and just get wide, static, rolling video shots of your setting. Whether it's a diner or a street or a house or whatever. 5 minutes of rolling video, kind of a wide shot, symmetrical maybe do symmetrical and non-symmetrical, because it can end up being like a menu type of thing or a background or some kind of setting where it just comes in so handy. I did a few of these kind of time-lapse shots. I wish I would have done a lot more and more stronger frames than even this. You don't know what you're going to need when, beyond the movies that you're making, but the environment you're creating needs this kind of stuff. At the beginning of High Rise, you saw that billowing curtain? That's beautiful, right? It's like, that's the kind of shot you might need. So the other type of shot is shots that have a lot of negative space because you're going to put text over it. You're going to put boxes or icons or whatever. So you need frames that have, maybe you've got some point of interest here, but if the whole frame has a lot of loose, non-busy stuff, you need that kind of frame. Time-lapse, of course. Time-lapse can be really fun and useful as a background element. And then the last one are overhead, very symmetrical overhead shots of the environment, whether it's a desk or a playground or whatever. That kind of shot can, displacing our normal sort of, looking forward, standing up high eye level, can be really fun in designing a site, and that's another good kind of shot to get.
Can you put up the funder credits?
I already did.
I didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we showed you our funder credits too. That
was funders for the entire Local Lore project, which we're only part of 10 projects that were done around the country, all of which have interactive websites, and they're all very interesting. They're all very, very different. Do you have the Local Lore map up there?
I don't have that.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, we learned a ton. I mean, the relentless shortness of the stories, how utterly edited they have to be.
Although I'm not sure that's true. Yeah, actually. Yes, go ahead.
Well, we did a lot of, okay, so how we tested. Okay. We started, we should say, we did a lot of, we always do a lot of test screenings with a doc in progress. We have friends gather in our house, 5, 6, 7 friends around a big TV. They watch the rough cut and they rip it to shreds. Here, they had to watch around a computer, and we had to have fewer people, 2 or 3 people watch it, sometimes 4. And we would say, okay, at this point, you'd watch this, and at this point, the idea is that you would want to click on this, and at this point we hope you would, well, what do you think you would do? It was so weird, like, okay, so even though you can't do it right now, sitting here watching this QuickTime movie, or this mini movie on our laptop, if it was an interactive site, what do you think you would do? It was bizarre kind of experience.
A little bit like what we did here. And what I think what you're asking is, why did we decide the films had to be so short? The portraits had to be so short. Because
some of your examples on your sheet make amazing 20-minute.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
I know.
They have amazing viewership. So I'm just wondering what made you, like, you sound like you have a very, like, you're very determined that they must be short, or you were on this.
We felt we were losing the audience. When we were doing these test screenings, which we did for 6 weeks, 2 months,
yeah.
We just could feel people leaving. You know, you're like, you got to read your room, and I think we've learned over the years how to read the audience.
Yeah.
But it's a very different time. The amount of time we will give to a movie that we're watching versus a website, there's like, you approach it as a different person almost.
I don't feel convinced that we made the right choice, but that's the choice we made. And it's an experimental site. You know, we'll see if people, like our viewer today, toward the end of LaToya, she felt like, okay, I understand her, I want to move on. And that was at about 2.5 minutes.
But if it was on POV or independent lens, maybe you wouldn't have felt that. You know, I don't know.
Well, one thing I noticed is the Pine Point site, we all agree it's really cool.
Is it, yeah.
Really, really rich.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things on that site cueing different stuff I'm supposed to perceive and think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how someone goes about making that and making it cohesive and stuff. It's a kind of genius or something. But so, you know, I think that there were so many different stuff to look, you know, there was the things to read, there was, you know, color tones, there was
music
an image,
constantly, yeah.
And so the videos at the beginning didn't quite have that layer of leveling or level of layering.
Well, no, and we fully agree. One of the limits to the process we had, the team of us who walked around Ohio, the Dayton, Ohio this summer, we didn't get to like hang out with any one person that long. So that's why you were saying, I wish I could have seen some of those jobs LaToya and her family were doing, cleaning offices. Yeah, we wish we had that, but these are brief encounters. And so that's a limit to
kind of the nature of the
quality
project.
footage we get.
Yeah.
Right. So. Well, so I guess
if we were to do that again, we wouldn't do it that way.
That from my understanding is you guys are used to spending a long time with your subjects, so
this is
that's
different.
How you're used to having that kind of material and working with that,
right.
As opposed to like I didn't get the impression that the Pine Point folks spent long time with their people either. They had all these little bitty snippets that were really diverse representation.
Yeah. Although they had 2 years and $1 million to make their piece, and we didn't.
Go. There you go.
I mean, that's an amazing site. Right. It's an amazing achievement, but it was very, very, very worked on. So, and at this point, I think it's just a conversation. Everyone.
I think we're
just about out of time.
I'm just really curious. How do you get people to come to the site at all? I've been to Media Storm a lot.
Yeah.
How do you get that initial? Come to the
The usual.
You don't say, hey, this is an interactive site. Get ready.
Yeah.
Well, in our town, it's been fairly well publicized. Yeah. Like tomorrow, there'll be a front page. There'll be a big story in the Dayton Daily News. Let's give out some postcards. It's been on several Facebook pages. The radio station, of course, which has very big listenership, is promoting it. But that's a real question with these kind of sites, actually, is who sees them? I mean, really, most of these sites you guys were not aware of. And they're fantastic. Right? They're wonderful, highly funded, highly crafted by really good artists, but who sees them? I think that's a real question about things on the web.
Pass them around. Yeah, thanks.
So is the local newspaper, would they buy something like that?
They would do an article about it. Yeah. They'll promote it.
No, there's nothing to buy.
Yeah.
It's totally non-commercial, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
I mean, some of you said you go to these online narrative sites, right? right? And you sometimes
In the first, one
yeah,
thing, in the first 2 days of the site's launch, there were 1,000 people who checked it out. So
yeah, there were 1,000 people.
That's a start.
Pretty much all in
If we
Dayton.
show a film
Yeah.
here at True False, we might not have 1,000 people.
Now,
you know?
however, how long did they spend on the site? Some of
Yeah.
them spent 1 minute, some of them spent 5 minutes, some of them
Right.
spent 20 minutes.
Yeah, even though there's 25 minutes of stuff to watch, the average viewership was like 5 minutes, so, you know.
Have you guys considered putting the films like on a platform that is very share driven, something like Vimeo, and then maybe if one of the documentaries gets, like one of the portraits or something gets attention, it directs people back to the site.
Right.
Because that's like a video community. I mean, YouTube's a little more widespread, but
Yeah.
video communities.
We have talked about that. We may still do that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess we're done.
Thanks.
Thanks for your attention.
Big hand for Steve and Julia. This is
Sure.
fantastic.